Welcome to Movie Recall. In today's video, we will be going through the 1983 movie Private School. It's time to recall, let's get started, turn on subtitles, and spoilers ahead. The movie starts and we see three boys named Jim, Bubba, and Roy sneaking into a girls' hostel at night. They go on to stand on each other's shoulder and take turns as they go on to peek at a girl named Jordan when she is taking a shower. They even go on to take pictures of the girl as she stands under the shower. When she looks in the mirror, she sees that someone is standing in her window, and the boy also has a camera in his hand and he is taking pictures of her. She, however, just smirks and does not say anything to them. She then goes on to wrap a towel around her body and goes to Betsy and Chris's room to ask them for the nail polish. These three boys also get to know that she has gone into the room next to hers, so they then go to the next room's window. When Jordan is standing just near the window, Bubba shows up in the window and goes on to snatch the towel off of her body. She is naked now, but Bubba also loses his balance and the three boys fall. When they hear the boys falling, Chris and Betsy go to the window and laugh at the boys loudly as they try to pull themselves together. After this, the three boys make their way back to the hostel while Jordan gets back to her own room. Chris and Betsy are talking in the room about the incident that just happened, and they realize that Jordan actually came to disturb them deliberately, adding that asking for the nail polish was just an excuse. We learn that Jordan has a crush on Chris's boyfriend named Jim, but Jim does not even like talking to her, which is why she is really jealous of Chris. Betsy and Chris decide that they are going to teach Jordan a lesson for disturbing them, and they light a bag of horse manure on fire and put it in front of Jordan's door to make a statement. The scene then changes to a party where students from boys and the girls' hostel are together and everyone is dancing. This is when the new headmistress of the hostel, named Mrs. Dutchbach, goes on to announce that there is going to be a new wing in their hostel, and this is the reason they have organized this party where everyone is having fun. Chris reveals that Jim is her boyfriend. As the couple dance, Chris tells Jim that she has decided she wants to surrender her virginity to him. When the speech by the headmistress is over, Chris goes on to tell Jim that she loves him and could do anything to make him happy. Jordan sees this, and she is even more jealous now. As Chris dances with Jim, Jordan dances alone and decides that she is going to sabotage the relationship between Chris and Jim. Bubba, sporting an erection from slow dancing, sneaks off to the headmistress's office with Betsy to drink and have sex. In the meantime, the headmistress herself goes on to tell all the teachers to join her in her office as she wants to show them the design of the new wing, and all of the teachers make their way to her office. Bubba and Betsy in the meantime are now in the office and they are taking off their clothes. As he goes on to take off the girl's shirt, the headmistress along with the teachers enter the room and all of them shout as they see her naked and the scene changes. We then see these girls in aerobics and a sex education class where Jordan is curious about something and she wants to ask this question to her teacher. She hesitates at first, but eventually decides to ask. She asks to her teacher if the size of the male private body part matters, and the teacher of course does not want to answer this question. She simply dodges it. On the other hand, Chris now wants to do it with Jim as soon as possible, so she goes to a local phone booth with Betsy and calls at a hotel to reserve a room where she wants to do it with Jim. The scene then changes to their horse riding class where Jordan tries to seduce Bubba, but then she sees Chris and Jim making out. Jordan decides to seduce Jim, so she goes on to show him her boobs, and Betsy decides to teach her a lesson. Betsy, who is also in her horse, goes on to snatch her shirt off her body, and Jordan goes topless in front of the whole school, including the headmistress. She then goes on to ride on the whole track being topless, and smiles like she has no problem riding like that. On the other hand, Chris and Jim makes their way to the store to buy condoms. When Jim goes into the store, however, he is too shy, and he is not able to ask the store owner for a condom, and ends up buying something else. When he gets back to the car with no condoms, Chris is annoyed, and she herself goes into the store to buy one. She's a confident girl. She goes to the store and confidently asks the shopkeeper to give her a condom, and he starts showing her different flavors. She gets annoyed because she just wants a freaking condom. As she is taking a look at the different flavors, her headmistress shows up at the store. When they run into each other, Miss Dutchbach is also ashamed to face her because she has cream all over her face, as she is there to get treatment for the wrinkles on her face. She quickly turns around, and that works in Chris's favor as she says she just came to the store to buy some vitamins and leaves. That evening, Jim, Bubba, and Roy are having fun when Jim goes on to call Chris and tells her that he keeps thinking about her. He says he is really excited about their plan at the weekend. He adds that he is a little nervous too. Chris goes on to tell him not to worry about it, adding that she is sure things are going to be great. In the meantime, Jordan is being a creep as she is listening in on their conversation. Jim then goes on to tell Chris that he loves her. Jordan also tells him that she loves him, and Chris hears her say that and decides to teach her a lesson later. Later that night, Becky retaliates against Jordan and her roommate Rita by snipping the stitches of their cheerleading uniforms. The next day, there is going to be a big football game, and they are going to be cheerleaders there. This dress is supposed to be worn by Jordan the next day, but when all the girls are in the locker room to change, the snipped dress is worn by the coach herself. All of them are then seen in the ground as they practice being cheerleaders. As they practice, Rita and the coach's dress gets torn in front of everyone. All the students see them naked and go on to laugh at them. The coach is really embarrassed. The coach is now in a bad mood and she does not want to face anyone, as she says that she has never been more embarrassed in her life. The headmistress decides to cheer her up as she goes on to call her to her office and tells her to have a few drinks with her. The coach, however, goes on to tell the headmistress that she does not drink these things because she likes being fit. Miss Dutchbach, however, tells her that if she drinks it staying in a limit, this thing is not going to cause any trouble to her fitness. The old headmistress then goes on to leave the whole bottle to the coach in her office and leaves, and when the coach is the only one there, she starts drinking, and the next thing we see, she has drunk the whole bottle. As punishment for the prank with the coach, an angered Miss Dutchbach confines Jordan, Rita, Betsy, and Chris to campus for a week. That night, Jim, Bubba, and another friend dress as women and sneak into the girls' dorm. Jim wants to meet Chris. She is not able to get out of the hostel, so they have made this plan now. Bubba, on the other hand, wants to meet Betsy. When they are looking for their room, they end up running into Jordan, and she right away recognizes them all. She, however, pretends like she has not recognized them yet. She then goes on to show Bubba to Betsy's room while she brings Jim to her own room. She then starts seducing Jim while Bubba is now with Betsy in the adjacent room, and he hears some noises coming from the room next to that. Bubba then tells Betsy that he needs to go to the bathroom, and when he looks through the bathroom window in the other room, he sees Jordan getting a massage from Jim, and she is making sensual noises on purpose to get him in the sack. Bubba, however, ends up losing his balance and falls. Bubba then makes his way to the girls' restroom where he sees many girls naked, as they are there to change or take a shower. In the meantime, Jordan stops acting, and she now goes on to take off Jim's wig, telling him that she has recognized him. She takes away his wig and tells him to get out of there, and Chris also shows up. When she sees Jim coming out of Jordan's room, she gets really hurt. Jim gets out of there without saying anything while Bubba is still in the ladies' toilet area. He then sees Miss Dutchbach approaching and hides under a table right away. Getting the first opportunity to run away, he sneaks out of the bathroom, and this is when we see the coach, who is now badly drunk, as she has drunk the whole bottle of champagne by herself. She falls off stairs, and Betsy sees her. Betsy then brings the woman to her room and puts her to sleep right there. Roy, on the other hand, has been alone all this time. He tries to talk to all the girls, but no girl wants to talk to him. In the meantime, Bubba gets back to Betsy's room and finds the coach sleeping in Betsy's bed, but he does not realize that it is the coach. He thinks of her as Betsy and gets in bed with her. The next thing we know, he is trying to do it with her, but when she realizes that something is being done to her, the coach quickly wakes up. After this incident, Bubba also runs away, and the three friends now get out of the girls' hostel. Time goes by just like that, and Chris has not talked to Jim for days because she is heartbroken since the moment she saw her boyfriend coming out of Jordan's room. He keeps trying to get her to talk to him, but she does not want to see his face. He even goes on to send her flowers, but she still does not let go of her anger. The scene changes to the school where a parent-teacher meeting is going to be held now. All the students' parents are there. Chris's dad is also there, and Jim right away comes up with a plan. Jim asks Chris's father for his help in the matter. Her dad goes on to assure him that he will talk to her and things will be back to normal again. After Becky and he tells Chris to take Jim back, she does. Rita's dad is also there, and he does not look good. He is really drunk, and when he sees some girls in bikinis, he cannot take his eyes off of them, and he keeps thinking of ways to get his way with these girls. This is when Rita goes on to approach her dad and introduces Jordan to her old man. Rita's dad then goes on to grab Jordan's boob, but he tries to be subtle about it, despite the fact that it is clear to everyone what he is trying to do. This is when Mr. Lee Jensen, who is Jordan's father, shows up, and we learn that this man happens to be full of life. He's a ladies' man, and he has many wives. Even today, he has brought a new wife to this meeting, and Jordan is not too happy about seeing another stepmother. Jordan's dad goes on to introduce his new wife to his daughter, and she is not at all happy with her dad for doing this yet again. It is also shown that Mr. Lee Jensen is a rich man because he has a really fancy car, and he has a driver as well. This is when Miss Dutchbach gets there. She sees Mr. Lee Jensen's driver standing near the car and mistakes the driver for Jordan's father. Even she is aware of the fact that Jordan's dad is a very rich man and he is always giving donations for this hostel and school. Miss Dutchbach has never seen the man before, so she is not able to recognize him. She then starts talking about the donations with the driver, at which the driver asks her to sit in the car with him as they can have this important conversation in peace. They then go on to sit in the back seat of the car, and when they start talking, the driver starts touching her in inappropriate places. As they sit in the back seat of the car, we see Betsy and Bubba sitting in the front seat of the car. Bubba and Betsy can now hear what's going on in the back seat, and they also know that the woman is their own headmistress, so they decide to teach her a lesson. They go on to turn on the loudspeakers, ensuring that the driver and Ms. Dutchbach's indiscretion is known by everyone present at the program. Ms. Dutchbach then goes on to realize after a while that they can be heard by everyone outside. When she goes on to move away the curtain between the front and back seat of the car, she sees Bubba and Betsy sitting there. Upon realizing what Bubba has done, Ms. Dutchbach lunges at him, eventually resulting in the car rolling out of control down a hill and going into the pool. Chris and Jim then leave for their night of romance at the hotel. After failing to have sex that night because Chris finds the hotel too kitschy, as well as getting sick from the room service food and champagne, they have sex on the beach in the morning. Meanwhile, Bubba begins hitting on Jordan, eventually leading to Jordan paying him a midnight visit. When Betsy catches them together, she is apoplectic. Then comes the graduation day, and the movie comes to an end. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to get new movie recaps.